recently had a ton of people ask me this question. And I'm really excited to talk about it because I love to talk about planners. So, the question that people have been asking is, which one's the best planner for me? And that is a loaded question. The thing that you need to know is it might be one, it might be a couple different, it might be multiple planners, it might be one. It just really depends on where your comfort level is and what you like. That's really what it comes down to, is what works best for you. So let's dive into the different types of planners. If you're following along on YouTube, you're going to see me show some examples. If you are on the podcast, I'll try to talk you through it. So first up is we have a spiral binding. So it's probably very similar to what you're used to with a spiral bound notebook that you used to have for school. So just a smaller notebook usually comes with lined paper. This one's from Erin Condren, so she has a bunch of different options. But the first type of binding is a spiral binding. Then the next one is a wire O binding, which is definitely not my favorite just because of the problems that get caused when trying to turn the pages. So it's very similar to the letter O, but what's kind of funky about it is how it doesn't connect to itself like a typical spiral binding does. This is a very popular binding style in the planner community. It's not one of my favorites just because I've had bad luck with the covers not, turning correctly, but it is a good option for because a lot of planner companies use it. So I don't know if it's just because it's a more affordable option from their perspective or if it is just what's readily available. Then, of course, we have a ring planner. So, if you watched my previous YouTube video, I did a setup haul. So, basically, what this is just has the uh, six rings. Sorry, I know that's kind of awkward to look at it that way, but six rings that you can take in and put stuff out of just with a couple clicks of the rings. So what's nice about this is there's a ton of people that sell inserts on Etsy, online. There's a lot of planner companies that are also selling them. And then the final option is disc bound. So what's nice about this is you have the benefits of a spiral binding because it can turn over on itself, but also the fact that it can have pages added to it. So you can buy this punch just like you can with the six ring planner. You can buy a punch for this one as well. So this kind of gives you the best of both worlds. So if you love being able to turn over your planner covers, but also want to be able to add pages to it, disc bound is probably the way for you to go. There are, for the A5 size, that's the ring size that I currently have. But just like anything, you could get a binder, that I recommend, the Staples Better Binders, I believe is what they're called. You can buy from Staples or you can buy them from Amazon. But they have the larger size, the 8.5 by 11. So you could have a planner that size if you wanted to. Like my disc bound one is 8.5 by 11. So if you need that much room, you could go with the disc bound, but they also have a smaller size as well. But those are the four main types of planners, and you really have to decide what you like best. Now, the spiral binding, I really love. But again, can't add pages to it. You can get these little clips that you can clip things into it, but if you're planning on adding pages, not a good option. The wire O binding, same thing. I think they do have clips available. I haven't investigated because, like I said, it's not my favorite, but I think that they do have clips or options so you can add things to that. Think of the spiral binding and the wire O binding as, a set length of time. So, from January to December, it's a full year. Or I know Erin Condren sells an 18-month planner. So those are, a specific length of time. You're not going to add things unless you're going to take the binding out. You're not going to be able to add anything to it, or you could, stick it in with some washi tape or something like that. But in regards to the binding, you can't add anything to it. Like I said, the rings and the discs, you definitely can add stuff to it. And they both come in the smaller A5 size and even a smaller size than that, which is called the personal size. And I'm trying to remember what the discs call. Of course, nothing is typically the same. Like everybody has their own words for the same thing, which can make it kind of confusing if you're trying to figure out which system to go into or what to use. I know Franklin Covey, they also have more than six rings. So if you're looking to use like a Franklin Covey cover, or the inserts, just keep that in mind that you might have to punch extra holes or the holes will be off. If that's something that might bug you, probably don't want to go down that route. You also want to think too, the first question is, do you want to be able to add pages to it? The second is, do you want to be able to rearrange the pages? So if you're somebody that is likes to have sections within your planner, like I have, a calendar section, I have a notes section, I have a list section, I have a to-do section. If you're looking to organize things in that manner, you definitely want to go with discs or rings. That's your best bet. If you don't want to add anything to it and you want to preserve your planners, if you are someone who likes to go back and look through them, if they're sort of a memory keeping type thing, you might look at the spiral or the wire O binding because those are going to be for a specific length of time. The main thing that I want you to keep in mind when you're looking to dive into this world is don't buy all the things up front, especially if you don't know which one you're going to like. It is very hard to get not sucked in to buying all the matching things. And me, as a self proclaimed matchy matcherton, it is really hard for me. But when you look at the disc system with Happy Planner or the Erin Condren Spiral Bound or Filofax A5, a lot of them have matching accessories. Also, just the amount of accessories that they have can be overwhelming. I mean, there's so much stuff, not to mention when you throw all the cute stuff in there too. But you want to make sure that you're not buying a ton of stuff until you've kind of figured out which system is best for you. Now, I go back and forth. I love Erin Condren. I love their covers. They just released Hello Kitty stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a blast from the past. That's my childhood. I definitely have to get all that stuff. But right now I'm in rings because that's working better for me. I'm also have a ringed planner that is specific for keeping track of everything to do with scale your small business because there's just so much stuff. So keep that in mind is that you might be using more than one planner, more than one style of planner. So you might be in rings and in spiral bound. Whatever works for you, just make sure that you don't fall down the rabbit hole of buying all the things. And then you're like, great, now I have to organize all this stuff. Check out my previous episode if you're like, how do I organize everything in my office? You want to make sure that the things that you purchase, you're going to use because they are not inexpensive. So keep that in mind when you're looking around. Another thing that you can do too, but I want to caution you because it's a total rabbit hole, is you can go onto YouTube and check out all the planner videos. I know that I have a bunch reviewing items, how I use the items. There are a ton of channels specifically designed and targeted for those people that are looking to get into the planner community. So if that's something that you're up for, definitely check out YouTube as well.